didn't book a room for me on our family trip. My sister mocked. We reserved rooms for me, my husband, and my child. We're the real family. I calmly said, then I'll leave, and walked out. Hours later, after ignoring dozens of their calls, something unthinkable happened. On Thanksgiving morning, as I woke up in my Chicago apartment, the familiar anxiety crept into my chest. Another year, another family reunion. This year's gathering place was the Breakers, a luxury resort hotel in Palm Beach, Florida. It was our annual family trip, with all expenses covered by my grandfather. While doing the final check of my suitcase, I let out a deep sigh. I gazed at my reflection in the mirror. I'm Helen Walker, 33 years old, a research director at a pharmaceutical company earning $160,000 a year. Living alone in Chicago, I've steadily built my assets through careful investments. Money is important, but dignity is even more precious. My grandfather's words echoed in my mind. He's a successful businessman who made his fortune in construction. Everything I know about financial management, I learned from him. Since childhood, he enthusiastically taught me about investments and asset management. He's the only one in the family who truly understands me. In stark contrast is my sister, Catherine, a former flight attendant turned full-time housewife. She lives an apparently affluent life with her husband and 7-year-old daughter. However, this lifestyle wouldn't be possible without monthly support from our grandfather. Their high mortgage payments, car loans, and their daughter's private school tuition, everything is covered by grandfather's assistance. Still, Catherine's social media is flooded with glamorous posts, new designer bags, dinners at expensive restaurants, luxurious vacations. She seems obsessed with portraying a lifestyle that's far removed from reality. My parents are similar. George and Margaret appear to be enjoying a comfortable retirement life in Florida. But that too wouldn't be sustainable without grandfather's help. Their retirement fund planning, the deposit for the upscale retirement home, everything depends on grandfather. My parents have always been cold toward me but indulgent with my sister. That hasn't changed since childhood. During my college years, I covered my tuition with scholarships and earned living expenses through part-time jobs. Meanwhile, my sister relied entirely on our parents for everything from study abroad expenses to living costs. The disparity remains a painful memory. Become someone who can stand on their own feet. That was another of grandfather's sayings. I've lived by those words, studying and working desperately to become independent. I built my career in the pharmaceutical industry, grew my assets through investments, and created a life that needs no one's support. The high-rise apartment overlooking Chicago's skyline was earned through my own efforts. Moderate luxury within my means, that's the life I've chosen. As I lifted my suitcase, anxiety about this year's Thanksgiving grew stronger. Every year, our family's distorted relationships only deepen. My sister's competition for appearances, our parents' biased affection, and grandfather's worried gaze. In the taxi heading to the airport, I contemplated this year's trip. The Breakers, a prestigious 5-star hotel established in 1896. Italian Renaissance architecture and luxurious suites exceeding $800 per night. The Thanksgiving special dinner was said to cost per person. Despite the glamorous setting, our family's reality was fragile and distorted. My sister's luxurious lifestyle, our parents' comfortable retirement, all were castles built on the sand of grandfather's support. And this year, those distortions were about to reach their breaking point. Everyone must have noticed, yet no one dared to speak of the reality that now awaited us. Through the taxi window from Palm Beach International Airport to the Breakers, Florida's gentle sunlight streamed in. On Thanksgiving Day, I arrived at the luxury resort under pleasant weather. I was the last to arrive. Pulling my navy Rimowa suitcase, I stepped into the Italian Renaissance-styled magnificent building. My simple yet elegant theory dress had slightly wrinkled during the long flight. The lobby spread out as a clean, dignified space. Above, luxurious chandeliers sparkled, and below, footsteps echoed quietly on the marble floor. Other guests were already enjoying their Thanksgiving afternoon in their own ways. On my way to the front desk, I spotted my parents. They appeared to be discussing something in a secluded area of the lobby. Mother was wearing what looked like a new resort dress, while father was dressed casually, appropriate for his age. When our eyes met, they quickly looked away. Miss Walker, I apologize, but I cannot find your reservation. The front desk staff's voice was apologetic. They kept checking the screen repeatedly, unable to hide their confusion. I can see the reservations for your family members. But at that moment, the sound of expensive heels approached. I turned to see Catherine walking toward us with a triumphant expression. An Hermes Birkin bag on her arm, and a Cartier watch gleaming. Oh, Helen, finally made it? Her voice carried deliberate sarcasm. The front desk staff continued checking the system. Other guests' attention began to turn toward us. How strange that there's no reservation. Catherine's voice rose in volume, calculated to draw attention from those around us. Her Louis Vuitton suitcase stood out conspicuously next to my navy case. Actually, Catherine stepped closer, wearing a victorious smile. I only made reservations for our family. Her words echoed throughout the lobby. With a mocking expression, she continued. A room for me, my husband and daughter, and one for mom and dad. Just for the real family, you see. A moment of silence fell. The front desk staff was speechless, and our parents turned their backs even further away. The air around me felt frozen in an instant. Taking a slow, deep breath, I said without changing my expression, I see. Then I'll leave. My voice came out calmer than I expected. Readjusting my grip on the suitcase handle, I politely nodded to the front desk staff. Taking out my smartphone, I opened the taxi hailing app. Wait. Catherine's voice rose slightly. But I was already preparing to leave the lobby. Feeling the sympathetic gaze of the front desk staff, I started walking toward the entrance. My sister, though caught off guard by this unexpected development, maintained her triumphant expression. Our parents stood awkwardly frozen in place. Only the sound of my footsteps echoed through the silent lobby. The afternoon sunlight streaming through the main entrance felt oddly bright. While waiting for the taxi, palm trees swayed in the pleasant breeze. The Thanksgiving holiday I was supposed to spend at this luxury resort had ended in just a few minutes. Yet in this moment, a strange sense of liberation spread through my heart. Grandfather's words resurfaced again. Become someone who can stand on their own feet. Now, I felt I understood the true meaning of those words. During the few minutes waiting for the taxi, I gazed at the hotel's magnificent exterior. The Adam-style architecture told a story of over 100 years of history. Decorated lavishly for Thanksgiving celebrations, luxury cars kept arriving, with well-dressed families stepping out. Through the lobby glass, I could see my niece, Amy. Wearing an expensive dress unsuitable for a year-old, she was fidgeting behind her mother. Perhaps she was looking for me. Every Thanksgiving, it had been my tradition to bring her a present. This year, I had prepared a pearl hair clip. It was still beautifully wrapped in my suitcase. As I got into the arrived taxi, I told the driver, to Palm Beach International Airport. On my smartphone, I was already searching for the next available flight to Chicago. Though airfares are expensive during Thanksgiving, that didn't bother me at all. Rather, the emotional energy I'd wasted every year during this season seemed far more costly. Through the rearview mirror, the Breakers building grew smaller. Its form gleaming in the afternoon sun seemed to symbolize our family's superficial glamour, and now, the first crack had appeared in that facade. I couldn't predict what would happen next, but one thing was certain. There was no going back. The taxi's interior provided a quiet space, shielded from the outside clamor. The air conditioning maintained a comfortable coolness, and the premium leather seats gradually eased the tension from earlier. Outside the window, Palm Beach's distinctive resort scenery flowed past. Neatly lined palm trees, white luxury homes, and occasional glimpses of the Atlantic's sparkling surface. Views that would normally captivate me now felt strangely distant. I took out my smartphone and dialed my grandfather's number without hesitation. The ringtone before he answered seemed longer than usual. Helen, what's wrong? Grandfather's voice carried its usual composure. I have something to report, I began speaking in a matter-of-fact tone. I conveyed the events at the hotel without emotion, just the facts. The missing reservation for me alone, Catherine's words, and how I left. I explained everything chronologically. On the other end of the line, I could hear grandfather's breathing become slightly rough. I could tell he was controlling his anger. However, I didn't add any words seeking sympathy. I understand. I'll handle this from here. Grandfather's voice was low and heavy. In these brief words lay a premonition of what was to come. Shortly after hanging up, the incoming calls began flooding in. First from Catherine. Over 10 missed calls registered within 15 minutes. Helen, Amy wants to see you. She was looking forward to our annual Thanksgiving. Can't you think about a child's feelings? My friends are coming for dinner tonight. I was planning to post perfect family Thanksgiving on Instagram. Do you know how embarrassing it is to explain this situation? Catherine's voice grew increasingly hysterical. Between these calls, emails from our parents started arriving. We could have added another room, but as Catherine said, we prioritized the real family. You're independent now, aren't you? Mother's email reflected years of coldness. If you can afford it, why not get another room? With your salary, it shouldn't be a big deal. Why are you being so emotional? The following email even included spiteful calculations. Father's email was even more heartless. Catherine has a family, a husband and child. You understand, right? Can't you just quietly put up with it for Thanksgiving? That's always been your problem. Only thinking about yourself, never considering the family. Mother continued in a tone that made me seem like the villain. We had everything planned for social media posts. We were supposed to take lovely photos of you and Amy. It's all ruined now. My chest tightened with each message I read. But these were words I should be used to by now. Since childhood, my sister and I had always been treated with this same kind of discrimination. As the taxi neared the airport, a new wave of messages surged in. Because of your selfishness, Amy is crying. She had been waiting so long to see her aunt. My sister continued using her daughter as a shield until the end. Behind it, I could only see vanity and pride. From Mother, more sarcastic emails arrived. Poor Catherine. If you knew how desperate she is about Amy's future, you wouldn't understand, but children's education requires money. And yet, at a time like this, I felt no need to reply. If anything, I felt grateful that they had shown such blatant true colors. Just before reaching the airport, an email arrived from Grandfather. I'm proud of your decision. I understand everything. At those words, my eyes briefly welled up with heat. However, these weren't tears of sadness, but rather a quiet determination marking the beginning of a new chapter. My smartphone was still receiving persistent incoming calls. Anxious messages from my sister saying, "Answer the phone right now." Accusatory emails from our parents claiming, "Your selfishness is tearing the family apart." But I had already reached a place where no one's voice could reach me. Getting out of the taxi, I started walking toward the international terminal. While booking my flight to Chicago, I felt a strange sense of liberation. This was the moment of being freed from the false real family. About 30 minutes after boarding the Chicago-bound plane, a new email arrived from Grandfather. All family members were included in the recipients. The following is my final decision, to be announced. The email began in Grandfather's characteristically dignified style. Today, on Thanksgiving, an incident occurred that severely damaged our family's dignity. The cruel treatment of Helen is an injury to the Walker family name and cannot be tolerated under any circumstances. Effective immediately, I am freezing all financial support to George, Margaret, and Catherine. I must remind you that your luxurious lifestyles are entirely dependent on my support. Those who have lost sight of family's essence, drowning in vanity and pretense, no longer qualify for such privilege. Just as I finished reading that part, calls from my sister began coming in. Her panicked state was evident from the frequency of incoming calls. "Helen, please, answer the phone. Convince Grandpa." Messages left on voicemail recorded my sister's voice in panic. It was clear that her life would become unsustainable without the monthly payments. All of her living expenses had been structured around Grandfather's monthly support of. Emails from our parents also flooded in. Their previous arrogant attitude had disappeared, replaced by desperate pleading. "Helen, this is about our retirement. Could you please talk to your grandfather again? The $150,000 deposit for their reserved luxury retirement home would be forfeited, and their medical insurance subsidies would stop. Our parents seem to be panicking at the reality of their retirement stability crumbling in an instant. Do something. He'll listen if it's you, won't he?" Mother's email contained unfamiliar words of apology. "I'm sorry for saying such terrible things earlier, but this is a family crisis." I quietly turned off my smartphone. A vast sea of clouds spread outside the window. The perfect family Thanksgiving, photos that had been posted on social media every year would not be uploaded this year. For Catherine, that might be an even bigger blow than the financial impact. The plane was heading steadily towards Chicago without turbulence. The passenger next to me seemed to be contemplating Thanksgiving dinner preparations, browsing recipes on their smartphone. Normally at this time, I would have been giving Amy her present in the hotel lounge. After landing, when I connected to my home Wi-Fi in Chicago, there were over 100 unread messages. Most were from my sister, their content becoming increasingly frantic. "What am I supposed to do? I won't be able to pay the loans. What about Amy's school fees?" Emails from our parents had also grown more serious. "We might not be able to get the retirement home deposit back. What are we supposed to do now? I can't sleep at night thinking about the medical insurance." However, what drew the most attention was Grandfather's final notice sent to all family members. "This measure is irreversible. Consider it the consequence of your own actions. Any objection to my decision will result in the termination of all remaining support." I calmly read through the incoming messages. Their formerly arrogant attitude had completely changed to desperate pleas. Never before had each family member's true nature been so clearly revealed. Setting down my smartphone, I brewed tea in the kitchen. By now, I would normally have been enjoying the hotel's luxurious dinner. A Thanksgiving special course worth $200 per person. Remembering that amount made me smile slightly. Every year, my sister's family had posted about this lavish dinner on social media. Yet in reality, they had been struggling even to make monthly credit card payments. A new call came in, this time from my sister's husband. Mixed with panic and confusion were words criticizing his wife's spending habits. It seemed cracks were beginning to appear in their marriage as well. More specific pleas arrived from our parents. The retirement home won't refund the $150,000 advance payment. Medical insurance will be self-paid from next month. Because of you, our retirement. Following those words was a repetition of defending my sister and criticizing me. It was as if they hadn't learned anything. I took a lemon from the refrigerator and added it to my tea. Tomorrow, I would return to work as usual. New research data analysis awaited in the pharmaceutical company project. $160,000 annual salary, steadily accumulated investment trusts. A stable life foundation built by my own efforts. Outside the window, Chicago's night view quietly sparkled. The lights of the high-rise buildings were like stars. Suddenly, I remembered my own credit card statement. Full payment every month. Moderate luxury within my means. No debt. Grandfather's favorite saying came back to me. Vanity is for others, savings are for yourself. In this city, I had carved out my life through my own efforts. As grandfather said, I had become someone who can stand on their own feet. And now, I deeply felt that choice had been the right one. From my smartphone, incoming calls continued to ring. But they were voices that would no longer reach me. 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, in early December, Chicago was blanketed in its first snow. Days were spent immersed in new projects at the pharmaceutical company's laboratory. Amidst the unchanging daily routine, my family's situation had undergone dramatic changes. The changes were first noticeable on social media. My sister's Instagram, which had been updated almost daily, had suddenly fallen silent. Her last post was from the day before Thanksgiving, a photo of her Hermes bag at an upscale restaurant, tagged with a dream lifestyle. The comment saying what a wonderful life now seemed painfully ironic. Emails from father finally showed genuine remorse. I'm reflecting on our years of extravagant living. We spoiled Catherine too much. And we were cold to you. I'm sorry. Similar messages arrived from mother. With their medical insurance subsidies cut off, they were finally realizing the true cost of healthcare. Our pension alone is nowhere near enough. I finally understand how luxuriously we were living. Catherine's situation was even more serious. I received an unexpected call from her husband. I've discovered hidden debts she kept secret. I'm shocked by the credit card bills. We can't maintain this lifestyle anymore. With grandfather's support suddenly cut off, their facade of affluence was rapidly crumbling. We're considering moving to a cheaper house. Looking at public schools for Amy too. Catherine cries every night, his voice mixed with exhaustion and resignation. Their marriage itself seemed to be in crisis. In contrast, my life remained peaceful. I arrive at work at 8 a.m. and return home at 6 p.m. Weekends are spent attending investment study groups, reviewing my savings management, continuing my life within reasonable means. Just yesterday, I was promoted to team leader for a new research project. My salary is expected to increase gradually. Investment trust operations are going well, with no worries about the future. Vanity brings momentary satisfaction, savings bring lifelong peace of mind. The weight of grandfather's words was now being felt deeply by the entire family. While my parents worried about retirement insecurity, and my sister struggled with debt repayment, I was simply continuing my ordinary life. Over these 2 weeks, the frequency of emails and calls had significantly decreased. The desperate contacts that came daily during the one few days had dwindled to once or twice a week. Their content too was gradually shifting toward resignation. Amy will be transferring to public school. She'll take the school bus. I never imagined. My sister's latest email showed signs of accepting reality. The e-dream private school life she had shared on social media would never be posted again. Our parents were also considering moving from their luxury Florida community to an affordable condominium. Struggling with medical bill payments, their dream of a luxurious retirement had crumbled easily. We've been living with wrong values for years. That's what was written in father's latest email. However, whether this realization would become a catalyst for restoring true family bonds remained uncertain. Last week I received a concise email from grandfather. Awakening to the truth of life sometimes brings pain. But it's necessary pain. Your decision gave them an important lesson. I didn't reply, I just quietly saved the email. In Chicago's winter sky, new stars were twinkling. 3 months after that Thanksgiving, early signs of spring were beginning to appear in Chicago. My life hadn't changed, or rather, it had become even more fulfilling. The new project at the pharmaceutical company was progressing smoothly, and last week I received notice of a promotion. My achievements as research director were recognized, and my salary would be increased to $200,000. Investment trust operations were also doing well, with assets continuing to grow steadily. From my office window, I could see the vast surface of Lake Michigan. Waves sparkling in the spring sunlight conveyed a quiet hope. New research data was piled up on my desk. Time immersed in work was my most precious time. A birthday present arrived from grandfather the other day. A simple pearl necklace. The attached card bore a single line in his familiar, elegant handwriting. True brilliance dwells in those who stand on their own feet. I'd started maintaining minimal contact with my parents. They'd moved from their luxury Florida community to an affordable condominium. Those struggling with medical bill payments, they seem to be gradually adapting to reality. Luxury brings momentary joy, but there's genuine security in a grounded lifestyle. Mother's email contained words of genuine understanding for the first time. My sister's family had moved to an ordinary suburban neighborhood. Amy had started attending public school and was getting used to riding the school bus. Catherine's social media remained inactive. How empty it all seems now, posting just to keep up appearances. Such words appeared in a rare email from my sister. Days spent struggling with credit card payments. Their marriage was still strained, but at least they were no longer turning away from reality. I had begun setting new goals. I wanted to build more achievements in pharmaceutical research, and eventually lead my own research team. I hoped to pass on my knowledge and experience to young researchers. On holidays, I attended study groups about investment and economics. The people I met there all led solid, practical lives. The sincere conversations, free from pretense and vanity, were refreshing. The Thanksgiving incident had left important lessons for each family member. The importance of financial independence, the emptiness of a pretentious lifestyle, and above all, the true meaning of family. Grandfather's final words still remained in my heart. Real bonds can only be born after overcoming hardship. In my desk drawer, the pearl hair clip I had prepared as Amy's present still remained, beautifully wrapped. Someday, when she realizes true value, when she understands the importance of standing on her own feet, rather than counting social media likes, perhaps that will be the right time to give her this clip. Outside the window, early spring winds rustled through the street trees. As if announcing the beginning of a new season,